For decades, King Charles III's love life has been under intense scrutiny, from his troubled marriage to Princess Diana to his lasting bond with Queen Camila. However, beneath the public drama lay a hidden truth. Now, at 76, the monarch has made a rare and deeply personal confession that challenges long-held beliefs about his true love. In a candid moment, Charles unveiled emotions long concealed by royal duty, feelings of regret and unspoken truths. Could this revelation reshape history's perspective of a man torn between love and obligation? New insights from royal insiders, rediscovered private letters, and unseen moments suggest a story of passion, sacrifice, and perhaps enduring sorrow. What prompted this heartfelt admission, and how does it change everything we thought we knew about the most iconic royal love triangle of our time? Let's explore the truth behind this royal revelation. A royal love story, revisited. At 76, King Charles III has made an emotional confession that has cast a new light on his past, particularly his most defining relationships. For decades, the world believed in the fairy tale romance of Charles and Diana, but his latest revelation challenges the notion that Diana was the true love of his life. Instead, it suggests his heart may have always belonged elsewhere. In the autumn of 1977, destiny quietly set the stage for one of the most scrutinized royal relationships in history. Prince Charles, then 29 and heir to the British throne, first met Lady Diana Spencer, a shy 16-year-old from an aristocratic family. Their introduction at Althorp House, the Spencer family estate, was not the start of a grand royal love story, but rather a casual meeting. At the time, Charles's romantic attention was elsewhere, specifically on Diana's older sister, Lady Sarah Spencer. Their brief romance ultimately faded into history, leaving Diana as a mere acquaintance, an unassuming teenager far removed from the pressures of royal life. Yet, even then, something about Diana's innocence and sincerity lingered in Charles's mind. She had not yet transformed into the poised and graceful figure who would captivate the world, but the seeds of their future connection were quietly planted. It would take 3 more years before their paths would truly cross again. By then, Diana had blossomed into a young woman whose quiet charm enchanted not only Charles, but also the entire nation. Unlike the experienced women of Charles's past, Diana's genuine demeanor and apparent lack of cynicism made her an ideal candidate for the future queen in the eyes of the royal family. However, beneath the surface, an unsettling question remained. Was Diana the woman Charles truly loved, or was his heart still entangled elsewhere? Their courtship began in the summer of 1980, yet the circumstances felt more like duty than destiny. Charles, now in his early 30s, faced growing pressure to settle down. His prolonged bachelorhood had become a topic of public speculation, and the royal family was eager to see him choose a suitable bride. Diana seemed to tick all the boxes: aristocratic, graceful, free from scandal, and, perhaps most importantly, adored by the public. For a fleeting moment, there appeared to be genuine warmth between them. Charles, often reserved, seemed drawn to Diana's natural ability to connect with people, a quality he had struggled with himself. At a polo match, a subtle gesture, a gentle hand on Diana's back as they moved through the crowd, offered a rare glimpse into their dynamic. It was a moment that the world would later dissect endlessly, searching for signs of true love. But was it love or performance? Behind the curated public facade, tensions were already simmering. Charles, a man deeply shaped by royal duty and expectations, stood in stark contrast to Diana, a young woman still discovering herself, unaware of the storm brewing around her. There were private glances, hushed conversations, and moments of tenderness, but beneath it all was the lingering question: were they united by love, or were they merely being pulled together by the unyielding force of royal obligation? Decades later, Charles's candid confession has reignited this debate. Did he ever truly love Diana in the way the world so desperately wanted him to, or was his heart always yearning for another, even as he walked down the aisle? His admission challenges the narrative of a royal fairy tale, suggesting instead a story filled with unfulfilled love and lingering regret. Charles's revelation forces a re-examination of history, leaving behind a poignant and painful question. Was Diana ever really the love of his life? Or was their marriage simply a consequence of duty and expectation? A royal engagement, love or obligation? By the summer of 1980, the relationship between Prince Charles and Lady Diana Spencer had evolved from a polite acquaintance to something more defined, at least in the public eye. The British press had already begun speculating about the possibility of a royal match, painting a picture of a budding love story. However, behind the grandeur of royal tradition, the reality was far more complex. Charles, now in his early 30s, was under mounting pressure to marry. The British royal family, steeped in centuries-old traditions, expected him to find a bride who embodied dignity, grace, and unwavering loyalty to the monarchy. Diana, just 19 years old, seemed to fit that mold perfectly. She was aristocratic, well-mannered, and most importantly, adored by the public. Unlike Charles's previous relationships with older, more experienced women, many of whom had been shrouded in controversy, Diana was seen as the ideal match. Her shy demeanor and genuine warmth captured the hearts of a nation that saw in her the promise of a perfect future queen. Unlike the women before her, Diana was perceived as someone who could step into the role of future queen without scandal or controversy. Their courtship, although brief, became a media sensation. Diana was often seen alongside Charles at royal engagements, her bright smile radiating a sense of innocence and hope. The press eagerly speculated about an impending proposal, while the couple presented a seemingly united front to the public. Yet, behind palace walls, the reality was more nuanced. Charles, though deeply respectful of Diana, remained emotionally guarded. His affections were shown in small, measured gestures, a guiding hand on her lower back as they moved through crowds, or a gentle, reassuring glance during public appearances. In contrast, Diana was open with her emotions, expressing genuine admiration for the man she believed she was falling in love with. These small moments, though fleeting, were enough to convince the world that a royal love story was unfolding. But beneath the surface, was Charles truly falling in love with her? By February 1981, the engagement was announced with all the spectacle expected of a royal union. Diana appeared in an iconic royal blue dress, her radiant smile captured by cameras as she stood beside Charles. As reporters pressed for details, the couple maintained a polished exterior. However, a single moment would shatter this carefully crafted illusion. When asked if they were in love, Diana responded with an enthusiastic, "Of course." Charles's reply, "Whatever in love means," cast a shadow over the joyous occasion. While some dismissed it as an awkward slip, in hindsight, it revealed a deeper truth, an emotional detachment that would foreshadow the struggles ahead. Now, decades later, at 76, King Charles's emotional confession prompts a reflection on this critical juncture. The engagement had been presented to the world as the start of a perfect union. But was it truly built on love? or merely a fulfillment of royal duty? Did Charles ever see Diana as his one true love, or was his heart already elsewhere? Diana openly expressed her love for Charles, but his feelings remained measured and reserved, as if shaped more by royal expectations than genuine affection. Despite this emotional distance, there were moments of tenderness. Charles, though often reserved, displayed a quiet fondness for Diana in private settings. He would occasionally place his hand on hers during intimate conversations or send handwritten notes praising her growing confidence in public life, gestures that suggested some level of admiration. However, even these small acts of affection felt overshadowed by an undeniable truth. Charles's heart had always belonged elsewhere. Royal wedding, the perfect illusion. At 76, King Charles's emotional confession has cast new light on what was once celebrated as the wedding of the century. Was it ever truly a love story, or merely a grand spectacle designed to mask deeper, more painful truths? The iconic ceremony on July 29, 1981, when Prince Charles married Lady Diana Spencer, was more than a personal union. It was a moment of historical and cultural significance that captivated the world. With over 750 million viewers across 74 countries, the wedding was nothing short of a global event. St. Paul's Cathedral, chosen over the traditional Westminster Abbey for its larger capacity, became the epicenter of royal pageantry. The grand procession, the sea of well-wishers, and the dazzling display of royalty painted a picture of a fairy tale come to life. It was everything the monarchy wanted to project: stability, romance, and the promise of a bright future. Diana, embodying the fairy tale princess the world longed for, stepped out of the carriage in an ivory silk taffeta gown with a 25-foot train. She looked every bit the part, yet beneath the layers of silk and satin, the first cracks in their story were already beginning to show. For the millions watching, it was a vision of perfection. For Charles and Diana, it was something entirely different, an illusion of perfection, carefully constructed to mask the complexities simmering beneath. As Diana arrived at the cathedral, cheers from the crowd filled the air. Her eyes briefly met Charles's as she walked down the aisle, and the world held its breath. It was a moment of undeniable grandeur, but what did Charles feel? Love, or the weight of obligation? Happiness, or the silent pull of a love he could never fully claim? Standing at the altar, Charles maintained his composure, but his grim expression suggested the pressure he felt. The vows were exchanged, though not without signs of strain. Diana mistakenly reversed the order of Charles's names, an innocent slip, but one that sparked speculation about how well they truly knew each other. Was this a union of expectation rather than emotion? Meanwhile, Charles notably omitted the promise to obey his wife, a break from royal tradition. While some saw this as progressive, others interpreted it as a quiet statement about the power dynamics that would shadow their marriage. For most, these were small, forgettable details lost in the splendor of the day. However, for those familiar with the nuanced world of royalty, these moments were telling. They hinted at the challenges ahead, suggesting that the ceremony's grandeur might have been more about royal duty than romantic devotion. The spectacle continued with the carriage ride back to Buckingham Palace, culminating in the iconic balcony kiss. Though brief and hesitant, it sent the crowd into a frenzy, sealing the illusion of a fairy tale. But even then, Diana later admitted, a sense of loneliness was beginning to set in. The pressures of royal life, the unyielding expectations, and the growing emotional distance between her and Charles cast long shadows over the joy of the occasion. Decades later, King Charles's candid confession about the true love of his life reframes that iconic day. Did he ever truly believe in the love story the world saw? Or was he already grappling with a reality where duty overshadowed desire? At the time, few dared to question the narrative of a perfect union. Yet, as history unfolded, it became clear that the wedding was not the beginning of a fairy tale, but rather the start of a complex journey, one marked by challenges, regrets, and unspoken longing. Parenthood and the royal divide. One of the most significant turning points in King Charles III's marriage to Princess Diana was the arrival of their children. But did parenthood bring them closer together? Or did it only deepen the growing divide between them? The birth of Prince William on June 21, 1982, was a moment of immense joy for the royal couple and a milestone for the monarchy. The public saw a picture-perfect family as Charles and Diana stood outside St. Mary's Hospital, introducing their newborn son to the world. Diana, despite her exhaustion, radiated warmth, while Charles, typically reserved, showed visible pride. When he gently placed his hand on Diana's back, it was a rare public display of affection. For a brief moment, it appeared their marriage had found a renewed sense of purpose. 2 years later, on September 15, 1984, Prince Harry was born. While William's birth symbolized royal continuity, Harry's arrival held a more personal and intimate meaning for Diana. She affectionately called him her Little Spencer, highlighting his resemblance to her side of the family. However, Charles's reaction to Harry's birth was notably different. Having hoped for a daughter, his initial words, "Oh, it's a boy, and he's even got red hair," were perceived by Diana as a sign of disappointment. Though Charles would grow to adore Harry, this initial response felt more like a dismissal than shared joy. It was a small but telling sign of the emotional disconnect between them. To the outside world, the royal family continued to present smiles and joy, but beneath the surface, their marriage was under strain. Parenthood, while bringing happiness, also highlighted their contrasting approaches to family life. For Diana, motherhood was everything. She poured her heart into raising her sons, offering them a nurturing and emotionally open environment. Hands-on and fiercely protective, Diana's approach to parenting was grounded in love and connection. Her warmth and relatability endeared her to the public, but set her apart from traditional royal norms. Charles, by contrast, had been raised within a monarchy where duty often overshadowed personal affection. His upbringing emphasized protocol and responsibility, leading to a more reserved approach to parenting. His royal duties frequently took precedence over family time, making him a more distant figure in William and Harry's lives. While he undoubtedly loved his sons, Charles struggled to bridge the emotional gap that Diana so naturally filled. His affection was quiet and restrained, whereas Diana led with raw emotion. These differences not only underscored their parenting styles, but also highlighted the deepening rift in their marriage. As Diana's devotion to her sons intensified, so did her feelings of isolation. The pressures of royal life, coupled with the growing emotional distance from Charles, created an unbridgeable chasm. She yearned for companionship and a shared approach to parenting, but Charles remained emotionally reserved. His sense of duty often overshadowed his roles as both husband and father, leaving Diana to navigate the complexities of royal motherhood largely on her own. Looking back now, does King Charles regret not being more present during those formative years? Did he fully grasp the depth of Diana's love for their sons, or recognize the loneliness she felt as she tried to hold their family together? His emotional confession at 76 suggests these are questions that may still weigh on his mind. Charles's love life, defined by two women. For decades, King Charles III's love life has been a tale of two women, Princess Diana and Camilla Parker Bowles. Now, at 76, his recent emotional confession invites a fresh examination of his past. Was Camilla ever a true replacement for Diana in his heart? Or was she simply the woman he felt permitted to love? The answer may lie not just in the public narrative, but in the hidden emotional truths that have long haunted him. The once celebrated marriage of Prince Charles and Princess Diana began to unravel under the weight of royal duty, public expectation, and an ever-widening emotional distance. However, the most significant obstacle in their marriage was not the pressure of the monarchy or the relentless media scrutiny. It was Camilla. Before Diana entered his life, Camilla had already captured Charles's heart. Their story began in 1970 at a polo match. An immediate spark ignited a bond that quickly grew deep and meaningful. However, their timing was never right. When Charles left for his naval duties in 1971, the separation became too much. Camilla moved on, marrying Andrew Parker Bowles in 1973, leaving Charles reportedly devastated. Yet, even as their lives diverged, their connection never truly faded. By 1978, Charles and Camilla had rekindled their friendship. By 1986, this friendship had evolved into something more, something that transcended the boundaries of friendship and entered into a complex and controversial territory. Despite his marriage to Diana, Charles's relationship with Camilla deepened, creating an unspoken yet undeniable love triangle. Diana, sensitive and intuitive, sensed the distance between her and Charles from the very start. She later spoke openly about the whispered phone calls, the knowing glances, and Camilla's subtle but constant presence. A presence that created an atmosphere of quiet betrayal. In 1989, Diana reached her breaking point. She confronted Camilla at a party, bravely stating, "I know what's going on between you and Charles. I just want you to know that I know." But instead of bringing closure, the confrontation only solidified what Diana had feared all along. Camilla was not going anywhere, and neither was Charles's love for her. As the affair continued, the strain on Charles and Diana's marriage intensified. Diana felt increasingly isolated and overwhelmed by the unyielding demands of royal life. The incompatibility between Charles and Diana, coupled with his unresolved feelings for Camilla, created a chasm too vast to bridge. Their marriage became less a partnership and more a public performance, with every strained smile and scripted appearance adding to the facade. By the early 1990s, their marriage had reached an irreparable breaking point. What began as a fairy tale romance had transformed into a cold, emotionally detached arrangement. The distance between them was no longer just a metaphor, it was a painful reality. In 1992, the couple announced their official separation, marking the end of an era and sparking a royal scandal of historic proportions. For Diana, the separation became an emotional battleground. She had fought to preserve her marriage for years, but the final blow came with her candid BBC Panorama interview in 1995. Her famous revelation, "There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded," became an iconic statement of her truth. Public sympathy leaned heavily in her favor, leaving Charles in a challenging position. The monarchy, long revered for its tradition and mystique, suddenly faced a crisis of public trust. Their divorce was finalized on August 28, 1996. Diana, though stripped of her royal title, walked away with her dignity intact. She remained a beloved figure, not as a princess, but as the cherished mother of a future king. Charles, still bound by royal duty, was left to navigate the wreckage of a love story, that had crumbled under the weight of expectation and unspoken longing. For Charles, the divorce represented both an ending and a new beginning. It closed the chapter on a fractured union, but also opened the door to a future with Camilla. Eventually, they married, and Camilla was embraced by the royal family. However, even as Charles found solace in his relationship with Camilla, Diana's legacy remained an ever-present shadow. Her memory loomed large, a reminder of love lost and perhaps never fully understood. As King Charles reflects on his past, difficult questions persist. Does he regret the way things unfolded? Was Camilla truly his one great love? Or was Diana the woman he never fully appreciated until it was too late? His emotional confession suggests that even decades later, the shadow of Diana still lingers over his heart. King Charles's emotional confession. For decades, the world speculated about the depths of King Charles III's emotions, what he felt, what he regretted, and what he buried beneath the weight of royal duty. Now, at 76, his emotional confession has forced us to reconsider everything we thought we knew. Did he ever truly move on from Princess Diana? Or is he finally revealing a truth that was once impossible to admit? On August 31, 1997, the world awoke to the unthinkable. Princess Diana was gone. The car crash that took her life in Paris was more than just a tragic accident. It was a moment that changed history. The world mourned as if they had lost a close friend. The grief was palpable, and the shockwaves reached every corner of the globe. Nowhere was the impact felt more deeply than within the British monarchy. For Prince Charles, the weight of the moment was both personal and politically charged. Though their marriage had ended, his connection to Diana through their children and shared history remained undeniable. Their relationship had been scrutinized, dissected, and judged for years. But now, with her sudden passing, there was no more time for resentment, no more distance, and no more second chances. Only the harsh reality of finality remained. Charles was at Balmoral Castle when he received the devastating news. His initial response was one of quiet grief, but the sense of duty pressed upon him. He was no longer just the ex-husband. He was the father of Diana's children. He was not only the future king, but also the one responsible for bringing her home. Perhaps, for the first time, he fully realized how much she had meant to him. Against initial hesitation from the royal family, Charles insisted on personally retrieving Diana's body from Paris. In that moment, his actions spoke louder than words. He did not have to go. He could have delegated the responsibility. Instead, he chose to be there himself. To some, it was an unspoken confession, a recognition of what Diana had meant to him, even in estrangement. To others, it was the closest he would ever come to admitting his regrets. Public mourning erupted in unprecedented ways. The royal family's perceived cold response only intensified scrutiny. Queen Elizabeth's silence fueled public outrage, and Charles, often seen as the distant husband, found himself at the center of a complex emotional and political storm. Yet, behind the scenes, his private reflections told a different story, one of remorse and deep contemplation. In the years following Diana's death, Charles was forced to confront the past in ways he had long avoided. Though their marriage had been fraught with challenges, he had always admired certain qualities in her: her charm, warmth, and ability to connect with people effortlessly. Even after their divorce, he recognized her enduring influence, particularly in the lives of their sons, William and Harry. Diana's legacy continued through them, in the way they carried themselves, interacted with the public, and defied royal traditions. Perhaps, deep down, Charles knew she had changed him too. Now, as he reflects on a lifetime of choices, duty, and love, his recent confession has left the world stunned. Those closest to the king suggest a more complicated truth. In private moments, his emotions slip through the cracks. A solemn expression when Diana's name is mentioned. A quiet acknowledgement that her presence has never truly left. Despite his enduring love for Camilla, Diana remains the one presence he cannot escape. When Charles finally uttered the words, "I loved her," it was a simple phrase, but one that perhaps should have been said long ago. Was it a confession of guilt, longing, or a love never fully realized until it was too late? Or was it simply the reflection of a man looking back on a life that could have been different? Perhaps Diana truly was the love of his life, the one he never fully understood until she was gone. Camilla might have been the woman he was allowed to love, but Diana was the woman who forever defined his heart. His emotional confession at 76 has reignited the debate over the most complicated love triangle in royal history. While the full truth may remain elusive, King Charles's emotional confession has reignited the debate over one of the most complex love triangles in royal history. It is a reminder that behind the crowns and titles, royal hearts are as vulnerable and human as any other.